Hi everyone, I'm Jillian Sullivan, and today my presentation is going to be on should there be mandatory licensing for paralegals. According to NALA, California is currently the only state with some sort of requirement for paralegals. How do you feel about licensing becoming mandatory? This is a much talked about subject, and I've extensively researched the different options available at the moment, so you can make a decision as to if you think that the current options are enough, or if you think it should be mandatory. Let's look at some of the options currently available. The first one is certification through NALA. Now that requires a fee. It's at the moment approximately $325 and also requires you to have continuing education credits. So you're constantly learning throughout the year. The second one is kind of like a step above being paralegal. It's a limited license legal technician, otherwise known as LLLT. And that also has continuing education credits as well as a fee involved. There's also an ABA certified paralegal, which is similar to the NALA, with fees and also continuing education. Certification through NFPA, which is the National Federation of Paralegals, and that also has fees and continuing education. Now we're going to look at some of the positive aspects of mandatory licensing. The first one is the ability to maintain a certain standard for paralegals. Whereas, like, if you have a nurse, like, you know what kind of education, that they've been through some sort of formal program that has certain standards. So it would be similar for a paralegal. Like, you would know that your paralegal that you're hiring has been through a certain kind of course and has been tested, and there's a standard involved. The second one is that they're constantly learning through continuing education credits. And this is good because then they know, like, the up-to-date laws and all the different new things that are involved. The third one is more respect from the public, whereas now basically a lot of people think that paralegals are glorified secretaries, whereas if there's mandatory licensing, you can be like, hey, I'm a licensed paralegal, and people are like, oh, okay, you've been through a program and tested and all that stuff. The fourth one is higher pay for paralegals. Usually when there's more education, more things involved in obtaining a license, then there's usually a higher pay involved. Now with LLLTs, it could make legal professionals more affordable. Instead of paying an attorney for something like drafting a will and stuff like that, then you pay an LLT, which would be more affordable. Some of the negative aspects: more government regulations. Higher pay could result in higher fees, where you're paying a paralegal a little more than you would normally, then that fee is going to get passed on to the client. It would be more difficult for someone to become a paralegal. Right now, if you work at a firm as a secretary, you can work your way up and would not need the costly expense of a college education. And also many feel it's unnecessary. Paralegals are already required to be supervised under a licensed attorney. The additional expense of a bureau that oversees the licensing. And in conclusion, it could improve the paralegal profession to require licensing, but there's already so many other options available, instead of having something mandatory where now a firm can choose to have somebody who's certified or an LLLT or not and pay the extra expense, or if they just want one that has worked their way up in the company. That's all. Thank you very much.